Good afternoon, everybody. We will give it just a couple of minutes to let people sign in, and we will be back to you in just 1 minute. And as I said, people are rapidly signing in, so that's good. My name is Brian Killorn, and I'm the CEO of the Immigrant Council of Ireland. I'm going to just very quickly welcome you to the second webinar today on the second day of our 2022 National Integration Conference. We had a fantastic session this morning with a keynote speech from Salome Mbugwa from Akidwa, and then a really invigorating and powerful panel discussion this morning on the power of migrant women, which is already up on our YouTube channel and on our social media, because Robert in our office is extremely efficient with these things. So I would encourage you to check that out later on, because it was a really powerful session. We've covered many themes in our conference so far, and we have done some of them in collaboration with others as well. So we're absolutely delighted this afternoon to do a session in collaboration with the Arts Council of Ireland. Yesterday we did a session in collaboration with the Irish Refugee Council. So all the councils are getting together as well to work with all the migrant activists, and in this case artists in the area of people coming from a migrant background, but as this session explores, going beyond that as well. So I'm really excited to see the discussion this afternoon. I'm really excited that we can share this space with the Arts Council and with the artists involved. I want to thank you all for your time, and look forward to the discussion. And I'm going to hand you over to Suha now from the Arts Council to facilitate the conversation. So thank you very much, everybody. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for that, Brian. So I was just sharing a few images from our artists. This is from our collection in the Arts Council. So to begin with, hi, my name is Suha Shakkour. Thank you so much for joining us. Some of you might know that I am the new head of equality, diversity, inclusion here at the Arts Council. I started just a few months ago, really. So I did meet some people yesterday in the in-person conference. If any of you are here today, hi, thank you so much for joining us today and for showing your support for us. We appreciate it. I'll start with a few little introductions. I'll introduce myself first, and then I'll ask our fellow panelists here to introduce themselves. We are leading this as a very casual conversation. The questions are really going to be about, about who we are and how this influenced the work that the artists have created. I will be upfront and say I am not an artist. I do not come from an arts background. I come from academia. I have been a lecturer in sociology for about 15 years. But to give you first a bit of my personal, I am Palestinian, as some of you might know from my name. I grew up in Jerusalem before moving to Canada, and then Scotland for my PhD there at St Andrews, and then down to London to work in Derby and in Bristol, commuting both ways. After that, moving to Italy and then to Spain, and now finally here to Dublin. So a lot of migration, let's say, and that is actually my background in terms of my work. And that brings me here today. As the head of equality and diversity inclusion, we are always keen, of course, to showcase artists, and these particular artists are artists we feature in our collection. We are incredibly proud of them, and we are so honored to have you join us here today. So thank you so much, Hina, Atsushi, and Vanessa, for joining us today. I'm going to give you the floor now and start with the, let's say, the first of our questions. So I'll be looking at my screen here to remember the questions that I have. So if I'm looking away, that's the only reason. So the first question I have for you is to tell us a little bit about yourself, to tell us where you're from, what your migration journey has been, and what brought you to Ireland in the first place. So if I can start, I'll go with Hina, Atsushi, and Vanessa for this time. Do you want to get us started, Hina?
Hi, my name is Hina Khan. Good afternoon, everyone. And living in Ireland since 2015. I'm an artist, and definitely, my husband is a writer, and his writing is the main cause to shift in Ireland. Some of his friends suggest Ireland is a peaceful place, and I have two boys as well, and we are here, and I'm working as a professional artist since 7 years. I have done my master's from Pakistan and did some short courses from National College of Art and Design, and like still working and developing work with the group shows, with the Irish artists, with the other nationalities as well, and prepared a show like which is going to be open in 19th of May. So like that's how I'm working and developing my work here.
Thank you very much. Atsushi, would you like to go next? So this is the first one is your personal question, and then after that we'll do the professional question as well. So you can tell us also a little bit more in detail as well.
My name is Atsushi Kaga. I'm from Japan, and I came to Ireland in 2099, and I went to NCAD, an art college in Dublin, and I graduated from it in 2005. And since then, I have been mostly based in Dublin, actually. Yeah.
And why did you choose to come to Ireland? You know, the world is big.
I came as a language student just to learn English, and then one thing led to another, and I went to an art college, and here I am.
Amazing. Really by accident then.
Yeah, it was originally planned to stay for a few months, and
that's the way it always is.
Yeah.
Vanessa, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So my name is Vanessa Donoso López. I'm from Barcelona, and I studied my art degree here in Barcelona. And then I decided to finish my degree in England as an Erasmus student. So I spent my last 2 years of my degree in the UK, and I found it was super exciting being in a different country, learning a different language, learning different cultures. I got completely addicted to the everyday challenges, like going to the supermarket, going to any sort of situation was challenging. I had to kind of reinvent myself, re-educate myself. And as I finished my degree, I was like, okay, I'm an artist now. What do I supposed to do? I didn't want to go back to Barcelona. I knew it way too well. And I found out the Irish Museum of Modern Art were accepting work experience positions, and I applied for a little job in the collection department for a year. And while I was in Ireland, I thought, well, let's give it a go. And I rented a studio near NCAD. And then there was a big community of recent graduates in NCAD. So I got to know a lot of young artists, and they really helped me to start going with my professional career without they knowing, but they were helping me so much. Yeah, and then one thing led to the next, and then I started to apply to different competitions, exhibitions, open calls of all sorts in Ireland, through Visual Artists Ireland, actually. And yeah, 10 flew. This is 2004 when I arrived to Dublin specifically. So since the pandemic, I've been moving a lot between Barcelona and Dublin. But I've been like full-time in Ireland for like 18 years actually. Yeah,
this is a long time. So you've all been here.
I know.
Really long time. I've been here 6 months.
Time flies though. Time really flies. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's a lot of time. So you've actually talked to us actually a little bit about your professional side as well. So if you wanted to, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about your path to becoming an artist and how that was influenced by your migration journey? And then we'll circle back around to Atsushi and Vanessa since you're already here.
Okay. Yeah. So as I say, when I was in England, I've been, I don't know if to say I've been an artist since a very young age, I don't know, but I've always been interested in the arts and in the materials experimentation, compatibility between materials. I've been always a maker. and I just love it. I love making. But then
And
when
you're
I
good
moved
at
to,
it.
well, thanks. Well, I really enjoy it, so that's the way it is. Like I really love working with my hands, and yeah, I look at materials very closely and see how they actually interact and they work together or not. I love that part. So yeah, when I moved to England after a while, and to see all those things happening in my head, like I became very interested around ideas around acculturation processes or compatibility between cultures, language, identity, belonging, origin, the impact that the place where you are in each precise moment can have on you. So through the material experimentation, I started to think about all those ideas, and particularly clay. I was interested in the idea how clay and stones or soil and rocks represent a place in a literal place, in a literal way, sorry. And the way all these materials hold historical records and biological, geological, cultural records. I found that fascinating, how a material as basic as clay can represent so much and has represented so much through the history of the world and the history of civilizations, how it's a superhero material. I see it like some sort of a god material. It also holds our food, like plants grow in it, and without soil, without clay, without stones and rocks, we couldn't exist. So I'm quite fascinated around those materials. And lately my work has been a lot around these materials, representing them in different ways. Sometimes I like to manipulate them literally, but sometimes I like to portray them maybe through drawings. And so to look at these materials in a from many different points of view. Yeah.
Thank you. That's fascinating. Atsushi, would you like to tell us about your work, please?
My work.
Whatever you'd like to share. And also, I'm interested in kind of in how your migration influenced your work, but I'm going to get to that question a little bit in more detail later. So this is just the first question. You talk to us about who you are personally. Talk to us a little bit about who you are professionally as a professional artist.
Yeah, I wish I could say I always liked art and becoming art since I was a child. I wasn't like that. It's kind of by accident that I became visual artist, because when I was in Japan, I didn't know there was such a occupation or vocation. And I don't think because of my family background, I don't think that was possible. So if I had stayed in Japan, I wouldn't have been an artist. I just know it. I would have been probably a writer. So I was lucky enough to meet cultural people who inspired me to become visual artist here. So I can't compare myself sort of things that I didn't become. It's not sort of some people who were an artist in their homeland and they came to Ireland and they're still an artist. And then that I don't have that experience.
The migration actually facilitated you becoming.
Yeah, it was more like
fascinating.
Yeah, because I came here, I became a visual artist. So that's my the way I became an artist.
Thank you for sharing that. Follow up, but you don't have to answer this. Do you regret it?
Pardon?
Do you regret it?
Coming over here or becoming
a visual artist instead of being a writer?
Not at all.
Again, you don't have to answer. It's a personal question.
It would have been different life. That's all. I think I really enjoyed. I feel extremely fortunate to be where I am and became who I am. I feel extremely fortunate about it. So I'm grateful to everybody who recommended to me to follow this path.
Well, we're grateful too, so we get to see it work. Thank you very much, Atsushi. Hina, would you like to tell us more about your work, please?
Yes, I did my master's from Pakistan, and mostly I'm working with the social issues. And at that time, I created the thesis on the topic of the socially accepted women and non-accepted women because of male-dominating society. And it is quite, like men are just look after their foreclosed relation, and the other women, they harass them and they don't feel bad about those women, and then they create the boundaries between the prostitutes and the common women. So like men are going to serve that profession, but they are just creating the boundaries between the women's, like you can't go there, that area is bad area. So that intrigued me, like why that area is bad area. So I did a lot of research on that, and I created a thesis painting on that. I cannot share here, I think, but like you can see my work on Hina Khan Artist and Instagram. My painting is there as well. So this is the first step towards, like I feel very strongly like I need to highlight the issues which make me intrigued to create art. And I really I'm working with different topics, and I was participating in a group shows, but I never been experienced to do a solo show in Pakistan. Here in Ireland, I got an opportunity because of the county council officer. She came and visited my work because at that time I was living in Ballyhonest, that is a very small town. And she came all the way and she saw my work, and then she guided me like, don't stop doing working. And all the time pencil and a sketchbook is my bag and baggage. I don't mind like clothes and anything, but I really take with me my pencils. Pencil is the most important thing for me. So like I'm doing art almost every day. And like here, Ireland gave me a chance to exhibit. I did my first solo show in County Mayo in 2018, and now this is my second solo show is coming, and I'm participating with different group shows, and with the help of different fundings and different bursaries, it's really growing me every day, and I am like producing a lot of work. Like I'm sitting right now in the studio, and you can see the work.
Wow.
This is all the work. Yeah.
And enormous.
Very nice.
Yeah, this is for ready to go for the gallery.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous. And I love your space as well, even just the physical space
Yeah,
itself.
this is the studio space I utilize for preparing the show, but this is the last month of this studio.
Time to move again.
Yeah, but luckily, like I got a good space, and I always admire of Anselm Kiefer due to his sizes of the work, and I really go beyond the sizes because I trained in miniature painting, which is very minute details. But I really, I'm not a person who can fix with one technique or with one thing. I always experiment. I get bored with the things, and I experiment with the material, with the size, and I explore and evolve through these things. So here I got an opportunity with the materials and things. So I convert my my small paintings into the large scroll paintings and large scale, and people really appreciate because I got an opportunity to to do a residency in fire station and create. It's a collaborative kind of thing. So like that's how I'm growing, and they always push me like, Hina, don't stop working. So that's all.
I'm really pleased they don't. I'm really pleased that they continue to push you. I saw a question come up in the chat. I just want to say I'm going to leave 15 minutes at the end for the questions, just so we keep the flow. But if you have questions from now, please put them into the chat, and then at the last 15 minutes, we'll read them out, and we'll have time to answer those. So please send them in whenever you like, and we'll get them at the end. My next question is, you started to answer it partially. It's like, it's actually perfect. So we're going to go back around the other. So we'll start with Hina, and then Atsushi, and then Vanessa in this next round of questions, which is about how your work has been influenced both by your homeland and by the host land. So in your case in Pakistan and now in Ireland. So you talked a little bit about how it's influenced there and a little bit how it was here, but I wonder if you can go into a bit more detail about maybe the different challenges, you know, that you would have faced there versus here.
Yeah, I was trained in miniature painting, and when I came to Ireland, I feel my art is misfit with the Irish art scenes, because I visit some galleries and in Mayo, and I feel like there is a lot of paintings which is with the landscape and different. They have different kind of like Western art, we can say, in our country. So then Catherine Marshall selected my work for the group show in County Mayo, Lennon Hall. So that gave me encouragement. And then Dr. Patrick Murphy selected my work for another show. So these gave me encouragement, like I can part of the group show with the people, and they really like the idea of different culture and to put together the artwork. She mentioned me, like I was really think like how I can fit up this while she is curating in Lennon Hall. So these kind of things and these kind of barriers in my mind, but I don't know about the other artists, but luckily I got a chance, like wherever I applied, they got accepted and I got opportunity to participate and display my work. And now I feel like I'm part of the Irish art scene.
That's wonderful to hear. Could I ask just a small follow-up there? So you mentioned a lot about boundaries and barriers to women in Pakistan and how that influenced your art there. Could I ask here in Ireland how, you know, it's of course there's different culture, different society, there are still barriers, of course, but different kinds of barriers too. Have those influenced the way that you perceive your art or the way that you create your work?
Actually, I'm talking about the actual borders, political borders, like which are based in India and Pakistan partition. My recent work is all about the starting point when I start this new work series of work. It's starting from the borders, because I really, from my childhood, I really feel bad about the harsh borders and why always fighting and why we see all the time on the tally like there is fighting and people are killed during the border and partitions. So that's how I develop all new work about I create a map of the world, and I really, you cannot find America, Australia, Pakistan, India, England, Ireland, but you can see there is some cracks over there. There is some threads who is stitching, because as a whole, as a human being, because sometimes I really feel like we need to highlight these issues which are creating the cause of the war and which are creating the conflict, which are creating the discrimination. So this is the new all work is all about, like we need to open up the borders. We need to accept the people. We need to because there is some migrant and there is some native people, and if there is no acceptance, we cannot grow together. I start researching about the people when they live from the tribe, and I always come through with these things, like when people are from the tribes and they are living in a small groups, they are not very divided. They are more more powerful. Their research work are more powerful. So as a collective, I think we can go further.
Thank you very much, Hina. Atsushi, I know that you were not an artist yet, or a visual artist, to say, in Japan yet, but has your homeland influenced your work, and has your host land influenced your work at all? Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
I have had that question of how Ireland affected my work or influenced my work, and I always find it difficult to answer, because it's not clear-cut that is something, I like Celtic design, or it's so subtle, and also I have never tried to analyze it because there's no much point of doing it. But certainly it has. It must be, and I like making art in Ireland, and it works. It doesn't work somehow in other countries. Strangely, I don't know, to do with air, rain, maybe, something.
What do you mean it doesn't work in other countries? What does that?
I have worked in Japan. I could create an art something. And I lived in New York for a couple of years. It didn't work out. It must be something, Irish air or something. It's because I learned how to make art here.
Yeah.
So I need all the ingredients for me, for my brain. So yeah, but I am aware that I do use very, very specific visual images, visual language that comes from Japanese comics, because that was my first sort of default visual language. When I was a kid, I read tons of comics, so that became my visual language, and I still use it. So I am aware that it looks very, 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 very Japanese. I can't really point out what Irish influence is in my work. Maybe use of English language, maybe I could say, but I don't know much.
Maybe it's become so much a part of you that you've been here for
Probably,
so long that even the fact that you can't remember exactly the year that you moved, I find is very interesting. It's so long ago. It's so a part of who you are. It's like at some point in the past, I moved and that's it.
Yeah. Must be.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Vanessa, would you like to tell us a little about your work?
I feel a bit identified with Atsushi there because I did study arts and I always was interested in the arts. But I became a professional artist in Ireland, not anywhere else. So I was so focused on trying to find a little space for myself in the Irish art world that I kind of abandoned a little bit, like my contacts back in Spain or in Barcelona. So and maybe I kind of agree with the what Ash said about maybe the Irish air inspire us, but I do always say that living in Ireland really helps me to stay in the studio, and I do it in the most happy way. Like when I'm back in Barcelona, it's so tempting to be out, and also culturally, we're always out socializing. Not always, but we are very into that, like meeting up every evening and have a couple of drinks or a bite, blah, blah. But in Ireland, I feel like because the weather is so tricky, to say the least. So I love being in the studio in Dublin, and then super nice and warm with my music on. And then you see the rain outside and the wind, and it makes you feel even more comfortable and more wanting to spend time in the studio. And I think Ireland has helped me massively to be super productive. I've been super mega productive in Ireland. And when I'm back in Barcelona, I feel I'm not.
So interesting.
So yeah, and I don't know, it's a bit of a catch-22 because in my case anyway, I work in Ireland. It's easier to maybe submit my work in an Irish context, and then because you do have a body of work, people may be approaching you, or so, and then you keep working and you keep creating, investigating, researching, etc. And then maybe but I do think that the weather has played, in my case, a big role to be productive and active in the Irish scene.
Yeah,
maybe
we have to
if
be
I was
miserable a little bit. We have to be miserable a little bit to produce art.
Well, this applies.
I always wondered if I was never away from Spain, from Barcelona, would have been possible to become an artist? That's another thing. Probably not. I feel Ireland has been way more supportive. Also, I guess it's a smaller country and feels like there is, I don't know, maybe less competition. Barcelona as well is such a hip city, and there are people from all over the world trying to stay in Barcelona and to make a living in Barcelona. So I say it would have been way harder to make it possible in Barcelona.
I know, was here. It's fascinating what you say both about the weather there. As you're saying it, I was thinking back to my time in Scotland when I was studying, and not an artist, okay, but I was writing my thesis. And I remember every time I'm there, like even now, I think the most productive time of my life were those 4 years in Scotland, where it was dark at 4 p.m. But the difference is I was happy. Like I loved it. I loved the dark and the gloom because I found writing was easier somehow.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe there's something similar there.
Yeah.
Again, of course, I'm not an artist. I'm not going to pretend, but something similar in the human experience of producing something that is creative, because writing in a way, at least,
yeah.
I mean, writing is creative, but thesis writing is less creative, let's say.
No, but still, yeah.
I want to move on to another question. We're going through these questions, but there are still many more. I wanted to ask a little bit about, okay, I'm not sure exactly how to word this, so I'm just gonna try. So I wanted to ask about whether you felt that there were expectations on you to produce a particular type of or a particular theme in your art based on your migration history, that maybe artists who are native born to Ireland wouldn't have that same kind of expectation, on their art. Have you experienced anything like that, even if it doesn't come from the outside? Maybe it comes from the inside. What do you think? Who shall we? Atsushi, we haven't started with you at all. So would you like to start us off?
Have I ever received expectation from people?
Or do you have expectation in yourself of producing work that represents your homeland, or represents your home country, your home identity, I suppose, in a particular way?
I see. Might be a little bit, but almost none. I know my work looks very Japanese, but because just I like those images that's the reason I make. I use English language because audience can read it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really use Japanese text, for example, because people can't read here or. No,
That's okay.
I'm really reclusive, really nerdy artist. I just do it for myself. So I don't really have that sort of cultural expectation. Probably not.
Probably not. That's a good answer too.
No, not really, no.
Hina?
Yes, actually, can you please repeat the question?
Of course, it's a bit of a complex question. So you're living here in Ireland and you're a migrant here in Ireland, and I wondered if there was a difference in experience from Irish born artists, let's say, that there is an expectation that you represent your homeland. I say that you represent Pakistan in your work, in your art, that isn't there for native born Irish artists, because they're already in their homeland, so they don't necessarily need to represent it. But I don't know if that. Again, the answer can be no. These are questions that also I'm personally curious about. So
yes, actually, last year I got a commission from Mother's Tongue Language, and it is a collaboration again with a Polish artist, and we create a language tree and installation, and it's a live performance in between the public and the engagement with the community people. So people are coming and see, and they participate with their writing as well. So I think that is a combination of multicultural people, and that is, I think, very powerful. They really, because the weather was not good, but we did with and we allow, like, rain will evolve the colors, but we are writing. It's a 3 days constant writing. And like, I feel like people are really appreciated that, because they don't know the language and they don't know the native language. So it is kind of very powerful.
Beautiful, thank you. Vanessa, would you like to?
No, I never felt any sort of expectation, to be honest, from people. Like my work doesn't talk about my land, my own land, or my origins itself. It talks more about someone that had the context shaken, like everything changed, like the culture, the temperature, the architecture, the language. So it talks about more that experience, but not specifically from my own. I don't want to represent my country, let's say, and I never felt anyone was expecting me to represent it. I did get sometimes comments about the colors that I use, like, oh, your work is very colorful. Do you think it's because you're Spanish and you have more light and color is more present? I don't know. Obviously, I'm influenced by where I was born and where I grew up. Obviously, it's everybody is. So I'm sure I'm inspired in a way, or influenced by my origins, of course. But yeah, it's not my intention to kind of represent my land or my country, or whatever word I should be using here.
Thank you for helping with that. It is a complex question, so I really appreciate you giving me very thoughtful answers there. My next two questions that are kind of combined because they're like the opposites of each other, and we can start with anyone, but let's see. So my question is, it's about opportunities and about barriers for artists, and specifically migrant artists, artists who are migrants rather, in Ireland. Ooh, that's not mine. Okay. Would anyone like to volunteer to go first this one instead of me picking on you like that?
Yeah. Yes. As a migrant artist, I don't know what is the process and how we can evolve and how we can apply for the things. But when the opportunity came from Create and Fire Station, it is specifically for ethnic minority backgrounds. So that is the opportunity came, and I don't know what is Fire Station and what is going to be happening there, because this is my first residency. So but Irish artists, I think 13, 14 Irish artists sent me that link to me, and they said must apply for that. This is an opportunity which will open the door, and definitely after that people know me from all over the Ireland after that opportunity, and I know how to collaborate with different people, because the Create Summer School Cultural Diversity, it was very quick, and they learned in 3 days how to collaborate with people. And that's how wherever I go, I collaborate with different artists, no matter they are Irish, English, because I'm working with an English filmmaker as well here in Cork. So it doesn't matter who you are, but you can collectively create, I think, good things. And it evolved practice as well. Some things I don't know, but I feel like everybody is unique and everybody can create and everybody can collaborate. So these things are really, really pushing a lot.
Thank you very much. Who would like to answer next? This is about the barriers and opportunities that you see for artists who are migrants in Ireland.
Barriers, cultural barriers, or
any barriers that you might experience to becoming an artist or becoming a professional in your field and succeeding, in whatever way we define succeed.
Barriers, it's more logistic. It's more.
I think they're important too, because I'm sure that we have artists who are watching us now who might be thinking, okay, but how can I overcome some of these barriers that they might be facing?
Yeah.
Maybe
the problem I had becoming becoming full-time artist was that I have a specific visa, so that it doesn't allow me to work anything else except selling art. So technically, I don't think I can get paid by doing this gig, for example. But I don't think the revenue is going to go. To find out that, but
we will sort it with taxes.
Yeah,
we'll sort it with taxes.
I don't think I remember I giving a talk and then got the vouchers instead, just because my visa doesn't allow to work any other things. So that was just a bit difficult for me. at the beginning, particularly. I have to find the kind of jobs that the friends are giving me, sort of unofficial things. So that was difficult. Yeah, that was a barrier for me. But that's probably made the process quicker because I have to make art. That's the only thing I could do, maybe. That probably
so
rather
than an opportunity.
Yeah.
But the visa challenges are real. I have experienced them myself all my life. Now I'm married to an EU citizen. I think, oh, all my problems are solved forever. But of course, it's not true. Of course, it's not true. There are still barriers and problems with visa and migration. So anyone out there experiencing visa and migration issues, we are with you in solidarity. Personal experiences. Vanessa, would you like to tell us about some of the barriers and opportunities?
I guess at this point I should maybe point out that I'm a European person, and obviously, like I find I'm in a much more privileged position than Atsushi or Hina that are from other faraway places. Like in that way, for me, it has been much easier to kind of to find any sort of job, or I was lucky enough to always find art-related jobs. I've been extremely lucky in Ireland. Like I always say this, I've been lucky constantly. And I do think at the beginning, you do feel like you don't understand many of the ways things work in the art world, and you do have to learn many things at the beginning, and that makes the process very slow and pretty hard. Like you have to pay attention twice as much as any other person, and you also have to do lots of research on basic things as well. And this is something that I think it would be interesting for, like from the Arts Council maybe to kind of I don't know, have some sort of a program or a document for like artists that move to Ireland, like where do they should who they should approach, or a list of studios, or like something like Visual Artists Ireland. But you may move to Ireland not knowing that Visual Artists Ireland exists, and they've been extremely helpful to me as well. Yeah, but when you get into a new place and you don't know it at all, like, and no one from the art world can help you, that it's hard to discover all these things. But then after that, after the like 2 or 3 years maybe, when you start to understand how everything works, I didn't feel any barrier to kind of move on and to keep doing projects and other things. But as I say, being European, I think things are way easier for me than other nations. I'm completely aware of that.
Thank you very much. And actually, that's a really good idea. So I've added it to I have an ideas notebook for, since I'm new in my job, so I think new ideas all the time. Thank you very much for that. We are at the last 15 minutes, so I'm just going to see if we have any questions. Can I figure out, or can someone from the Immigrant Council of Ireland, if you can help us with the Q&A, please? If anyone can hear me.
Hi, Suha. There's one question from Guillermo. The question is, what has been your top, best, and worst experience as a person and an artist in Ireland?
Okay, who wants to start? Your best and worst experience as a person and also as an artist in Ireland. Would anyone like to go first, or shall we just go around as before? I will just pick Hina. May I begin with you, Hina?
Yeah, I'm thinking because I'm living in my own world. So there is, because a lot of people on a lot of forum asking me about racial issues, but actually I'm living in my own bubble all the time. because I'm too much into my art, and that is the kind of food for me, I think. So I didn't find any bad thing here, but definitely I am keep growing, and it is very good and it is very kind just from Arts Council Ireland, who are opening up some, because some of my Irish friends told me 10 years ago, there is no opportunity for the people who are from different cultures or from different background. Initially, these things are within the few years or one, it happens. So that's I'm feeling lucky, I got opportunity, because you are growing your network where you studied, where you based on. But in a different land, when you are growing, it is, I think, kind of very positive thing.
Thank you
for
very
me.
much.
Thanks.
That's very good. Thank you. May I call on you next, Atsushi?
Oh, what's the question again? Sorry.
What has been your best and your worst experience, both as a person and as an artist in Ireland?
Worst I know was I was on the verge of deportation. I think that was the worst. I always think about what the life would have been. It was very easily. I was sent back to Japan. Just the beginning, I had an issue, so it was very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, someone
that's more dramatic than I expected.
Yeah, it was quite traumatic. I still think about it. Yeah, just one. Yeah, anyway, someone high up there wrote me a letter, so that sorted out. I'm very grateful to that person. So that's why I'm still here. That was kind of nightmare in a way. Yeah. That was the worst. Best, lots of good things. Art Council has acquired my work. That was felt some kind of accomplishment. It's
our honor to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I felt really honored that I was kind of included, as Hina was describing. It felt really, really, oh yeah, I'm part of this art scene. So that was that was definitely one of the best moments when I found out that, yeah.
Wonderful, thank you so much. In the Arts Council, so we have the collections there, and I'm told that when we move back to our offices eventually, since now we're all working from, as you see, my lovely kitchen here, but we are allowed to select items from the collection to hang up in our offices, for short periods of time. So I think, okay, now I know who to pick. So thank you also for that for me. Vanessa, would you like to tell us as well about your experience? So it's your best and your worst experience as a person and as an artist.
To be honest, I was thinking there, I don't remember the worst experience remarkable enough to even mention it.
I mean, once you have deportation on the table,
yeah,
it's hard to follow. I don't blame you.
The worst is when you don't get you do an application and you don't get it. It's really annoying. But I don't have a particularly bad, I never had a particularly bad experience, I think. And the good ones are, I do coincide with Atsushi as well, when you get things that you really want, like getting a Temple Bar Gallery and Studios studio as a membership for 4 years, that was amazing. Or an award from the fire station, all the exhibitions I made, I had through the country, even the smallest space. I love those kind of opportunities, getting to know local people in small places. They are so real and they're so honest. I love those super real Irish experiences that I really enjoy them. So all these kind of experiences, often related to my work, but then where is personal and where are you a person and where are you an artist? It's kind of the same thing, I think. So yeah, all those things I say.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Do we have any other questions or any questions anyone wants to ask
Yes, there is another
okay.
question for Hina in particular. This is in relation to her previous contribution, I think, when she was talking about the gender issues that she's engaging in her art. So the question is, what is it like discussing those issues in Ireland in comparison to Pakistan? And by discussing, it means interpreting and expressing through visual arts.
Actually, I'm just talking about I'm working on the issues which are embedded in the society. At that time, I really feel I was just growing up, and I was thinking this is I feel in the surroundings like men are really care for relations, mother, wife, sister, and that's what I told. So I feel like it is really disturbing for me, and I really I don't know, but if something happened in the society, and if something happened, I really feel to give my response. It is very inbuilt, I think. So that's how I really. Um, what was the second part of the question? It's in Irish.
It's whether it's different for you in Ireland. That is it different for you to be let's say expressing ideas about gender in Ireland versus when you were in Pakistan, or when you go to Pakistan even now? That are there differences?
No, I find this
or
culture is very different from
better,
that culture. The native culture of my country, it was a bit different, but here is different.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Are there any other questions in the chat there?
No.
Okay, in that case, so we have about 5 minutes, 7 minutes left. I do have a question for you, but it's about really you as individuals, and it's about really where you feel that you belong. You know, you've all been here a long time now compared to me. I'm still trying to figure out exactly where I belong, but for Palestinians, of course, our issues are a little bit different, let's say. But how is it for you? Where do you feel that that you belong? And do you feel that it's in Ireland? Do you feel it's somewhere else? Do you feel it's in a particular city or a particular house? How do you identify with the word, I suppose? Shall I start with Vanessa this time? You haven't started first in a few questions. Would that be okay?
Me?
Yes, if it's okay.
Yeah. I don't conceive my life without Ireland. Like, I've been almost 20 years in Ireland, and it's a massive chunk of my life. It's like half of my life, basically. So I don't know, when I'm in Ireland, I feel at home, but I know I'm from Barcelona, and when I'm in Barcelona, I know I belong to Ireland as well. So I'm these two people in one body kind of thing. And it's quite, I love it. In fact, I can be like, because I don't fully act the same way when I'm in Ireland as when I'm in Spain. I know I learned I'm long enough in Ireland that I understood some ways of behaving.
How do you mean? Can you, if you don't want to share, that's okay too. Maybe it's too personal.
No, it's just like cultural differences that I don't know, we do relate to each other in Spain in a quite different way, I find. So I try to kind of follow the ways, the Irish ways, kind of to be kind of more integrated. And I do it with love and without much hassle or worry, you know. It's not a problem for me. I feel absolutely super lucky of having known a different culture, and it's only that you only can get if you spend that amount of time in a different place. You cannot get it in any other way, not reading books or not watching films. You have to be in the place to understand the place and to become the place itself a little bit in your own way, obviously. But and I feel so lucky that way, like I had this opportunity, or it's something that has happened. It's not like it's not a conscious decision that I made, like, oh, I want to spend 20 years in Ireland. It just has happened. But then if you look at it in a retrospective way, you're like, wow, like I do understand, or I think I do understand the Irish culture pretty well, and I can be part of it in my own Spanish way. I quite love that.
And that's so interesting, because for me, I've never lived anywhere for a really long time. Like, I'm trying to even imagine the experience of being it just in one place, just for those 20 years. Honestly, it sounds beautiful. Like, I'm envious.
It is.
Of you all here have been been in one place for a long time.
It's a way of
privilege
of living, and it's as interesting as living in many other places, but
we always crave
this my own
the other, you know. Thank you so much. Atsushi, may I call you next?
I think those people who speak two languages are schizophrenic in some way. I think so. Yeah, I feel that way too, and I struggle with that.
How do you meet?
Have two different personalities, basically. I think for the research, it's proven that it's you may answer different. You may give different answers to the same questions with other languages. I think when, let's say Vanessa's case, when you are answering in Spanish, you are getting the same questions, but you answer differently in English, for example.
Yeah.
That makes sense? No?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that happens. That's sort of schizophrenia, basically.
maybe I would move away from labels and all.
Right.
So maybe let's move away from that.
I fully get what you mean.
So.
Yeah, you get that. Yeah, I had it for a long time, that I had schizophrenia.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because we fit into environments. We're so malleable, we're abstract, we don't have ourselves, we're just shaped by what's around us, shape us. Yeah. So obviously, if you're in Barcelona, the same thing. I had a problem for a long time that I had this schizophrenia for 10 years or so. So my work is about the dual identity for a long time.
Wow.
But now my family has a vague idea of what I do now. Before, they have no idea what I do. I did. So it's kind of fixed a little bit now. And
but do you feel that you belong here in Ireland, or do you feel that you belong in Japan? I'm going to give you just 1 minute to answer, because
sorry, quickly, yeah. I think I have finally I have created. I don't think, because schizophrenia happens because
But I think that we should really stop.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Yeah, because I belong to somewhere that I don't belong to Japan or Ireland. It's like black and white. It's not really like that. So I have created sort of space, family, and people around me that I belong to, and that's why I'm happy. Yeah,
that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Hina, please, where do you feel you belong?
Ireland is for me like now a second home, but I really agree with the Atsushi, because you are always confused, because you're born in one place and you reroute yourself into another place. So it's the confusion is always with part of your personality, and schizophrenia and these kind of things are happening. This is happening because it's a human nature, and it's still somewhere, because sometimes I feel I'm not belong to earth, I'm not belong to sky, I'm in the middle of somewhere.
In the middle of somewhere. This brings us exactly perfectly to 3 o'clock. So all that's left for me to say is, on behalf of myself and on behalf of the Arts Council of Ireland, I want to thank our 3 panelists, Hina Khan, Atsushi Kaga, and Vanessa Donoso, for joining us today. If you'd like to know more about their work, you can Google them because they're available, or I think they're in the chat as well. Their websites are there. And finally, to thank all the participants in the show here. I see there's quite a few of you who've joined our webinar. We really want to thank you for sharing your time with us, sharing our space here. So thank you all so very, very much. And we wish you a wonderful day and a fantastic day tomorrow in Galway. Thank you so much to the Immigrant Council of Ireland for inviting us. We are really, really honored to be here, and we look forward to working with you again. So thank you, and good afternoon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Suha.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.